I'm going to open the public hearing at 7:03. This is a public hearing to consider an increase of appropriations due to the state providing additional adequacy funding in the amount of $991,392.94. Kat, could you take a roll call of the board, please?
Brian Boyle. Here. Kim Farah.
Here.
Stephen Finnegan. Here. Amy Gentile. Here. Barbara Kishka. Katie Knudsen. Here. Sheila Lowe's. Here. Sean O'Neill. Here. Kristen Savage.
Thank you. Good rise for the pledge. So at this point, I'm going to read the article that is up for discussion. And I also will read the special warrant in its entirety. To the inhabitants of the school districts of the town of Atkinson, Danville, Plaistow, and Sandown, New Hampshire, qualified to vote in district affairs, you're hereby notified to meet at the Timberlane Regional High School, 36 Greenout Road, Plaistow, New Hampshire, on Thursday, the 21st day of October at 7 p.m. This special meeting is held pursuant to RSA 197:3A and shall consist of explanation, discussion, debate, and voting on warrant Article 1 to appropriate additional adequacy funding from the state. At this special meeting, warrant Article 1 may be amended subject to the following limitations. The legislative body may approve or disapprove the proposed increase of appropriations, but shall not approve greater reductions than what is in the warrant, or reduce or rescind an appropriation not specified in the warrant, or act on any other business at the meeting. The supervisors of the checklist for the member towns shall use the most recently updated checklist of registered voters for this special meeting. The article is as follows: additional state adequacy funding non-lapsing appropriation. Shall the voters of the Timberlane Regional School District vote to appropriate $991,392.94 for the purpose of buildings and grounds, maintenance and improvements. Said sum available due to statutory changes resulting in an increase in state adequacy payments. This special warrant article will be a non-lapsing appropriation per RSA 32:7, paragraph 6, and will not lapse until the buildings and grounds maintenance and improvement projects are complete or by July 1, 2024, which is ever sooner. The school board will vote at the end to recommend this article or not recommend, and a majority vote of the voters is required to pass this article. That being said, I'd like to open the floor for any discussion or comments from the public regarding this warrant article. I'll ask one more time if there's any questions, comments, discussion regarding this warrant article. Sean?
Yes, have we identified where this money will be spent?
Yes.
Besides just general stuff, I mean, have we identified specifics at all yet?
Yes, if you look in your agenda packet,
Okay,
in the you'll see an executive summary for the facilities that summarizes the money. That should be HVAC replacement, 1.4 million, boiler replacement, 1.1 million, building envelopes, windows, walls, water infiltration, roofs, insulation, 3.7 million. Those are all projects that we're looking to complete through the end of 2024. If you go further in your agenda packet, you will see the specific items that are listed in the draft of the CIP. Barbara?
I just want to point out that this year is an extremely interesting year because we can extend our dollar a lot more than usual because of the performance contract. And what happens with that is we are going to be able to pay for quite a few facilities improvements with savings from energy that we make from some of those improvements. And while we have that large amount of money that we can pay back through energy savings. If we add this to the kitty, we will be able to do more things and extend it even more than that, almost $1 million would be normally.
Are there any further comments or questions before I, yes, sir, go ahead. Please state your name and town for the record.
Nolan Plastow. You referred to the agenda packet. Is that available? I didn't see it online. I might have missed it. On the breakdown of the costs that where this is going.
The agenda pack is, I thought there were some copies of the summary, executive summary that was going to be provided to the public.
I didn't see those.
It can be shown on the screen. Did you have some copies? I thought we were going to provide copies. Can you maybe put them over in the back so that the public can take a look at those? Oh,
Thank you.
just keep it. So you know I'm moving because I can't really see. Barbara?
Statement about how much goes back to the taxpayers versus keeping aid for capital improvements come from. Can somebody speak to that?
I asked Maria to provide a summary of the impact on a $300,000 home should the voters vote to not approve that warrant article, just so we'd have some idea of the tax impact per house. So that's where this data came from.
Thank you.
Brian?
I think that's so. That's if we. That's if the money just went into the fund, general fund, versus if we don't accept the warrant article, we don't accept the warrant article, right?
No, I had counsel. The question was asked of council. If this warrant does not pass, the money will go back to the voters.
So it just would, so you can receive it without accepting it that way. In other words, we have a warrant in front of them for a specific purpose. If that doesn't get voted on, Timberlane still gets the money?
Yes.
Yeah.
Fund balance then?
I don't know if it goes, it does not go, it should be flowing into the budget for this year.
No, that would be if it passes. It would. I would agree with that.
That's a question you'll have to ask council when he's here for the deliberative session. I don't know. I was told that if it does not pass, that it will go back to the voters. Where that go, how that gets appropriated back, I don't know.
So with that being said, that we're really gaining nothing by us having this meeting, this public meeting, and also the subsequent one to vote on it. Because routinely, this board and the district gives back, well, several millions of dollars back in surplus. So if the voters, if we just didn't have this, we could spend this and we would give them less in the, spending it out of the operating budget and giving them 900, whatever this dollar amount is less as a refund, and then the refund of this would offset that. So you're gaining nothing.
You've got millions of dollars of projects that we've been talking about even before people got on this board that have not been done, millions. And the reason that they haven't been done over the years is because there's been only so much in capital. So now we seem to have an opportunity here to put another close to $1 million into our capital projects in the immediate future. That's how I look at it.
No, I agree with that statement. But it's the requirement is either we're going to know this in 2 weeks, or we're a week from now, or we're going to know it in March. And I'm saying is that knowing it in a week or in March has no bearing on how we should operate. We should go ahead and spend what we were going to normally do. We would give roughly $1 million less in surplus, and then if the voters then wanted to retain this money as a refund, then they would just say vote no on it, and we wouldn't have it, or we would have it next year.
We would not be able to use this money for capital if the voters vote no on this warrant article.
Well, what do you mean? Every project on here is capital.
I'm saying if the voters vote no on this warrant article, we will not be able to use it for these capital projects.
Right. Just go.
It will go back to the voters. We will not use it for capital projects. We cannot take money, if you're trying to say, oh, well, we'll just send this money back in, and then we'll take another $1 million and use it on capital projects, the answer to that is also no. Because we have to apportion based on ADM and EPV. We've already budgeted for capital in the budget under EPV.
All right,
So
so
this
this
is a
budget-
no, there will be no capital projects, extra capital projects done.
So then this is coming in as we're designated as capital. So it's been designated as an EPV.
We're accepting it for capital projects, yes. That's what the warrant's stating.
But then we couldn't use it for any kind of ADM kind of budgeting item, correct?
No.
Okay. Now we have it on the record.
Barbara?
After our recent tour of the schools, the schools really need that capital improvement, the bathrooms, the locker rooms, the HVAC, those all are very much in need of that capital.
Sir, you had a question earlier, now you've had a chance to look at the documents. Did you want to make a statement? Go ahead, sir. If you could come to the mic so we can hear you. Oh, you're all set, thank you. Before I close the public hearing, is there anybody else who would like to make a statement or a comment? If not, I will close the public hearing. As I said previously, the legislative body will meet on October 21st in the gymnasium to vote on this special warrant article. Thank you. It's now 7:18. Our agenda calls for us to call to order our normal school board meeting at 7:15, so I'm going to call that to order. Kat, can you take the roll call?
Brian Boyle. Here. Kim Farah.
Here.
Stephen Finnegan. Here. Amy Gentile. Here. Barbara Kishka. Katie Knudsen. Here. Sheila Lowe's. Sean O'Neill. Kristen Savage.
Okay, thank you. I'll dispense with the pledge since we just did it about 10 minutes ago. Approval of the minutes. I'm looking for a motion to approve the minutes from September 16th. Barbara makes a motion. Sean seconds. All in favor? One, two. Is that everybody? Sheila? Sheila's a no? Okay. If you raise your hand, all in favor, please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All 6. Opposed? Abstaining? 2. 6, 0, 2. Thank you. Next minutes are from 9/28. Sheila makes the motion, Steve seconds. All in favor? 7. Opposed? Abstaining? 1, 2, 6, 0, 2. Sorry, my miscount. 6, 0, 2. Amy and Katie abstained. Okay. Moving on to delegates and individuals. I have 4 forms. The first one is Bonnie Bowley from Danville.
Hi, coming to you from this lovely private section you've given us. I want to say thank you for that. So I was here about the last, maybe, I don't know, 2 months ago, and I thought that maybe, you guys were being kind, and I heard Sean say that you were going to accept medical exemptions. This was before the start of school, and I thought, you know what, that's fair. And now I hear that you're not accepting medical exemptions and giving parents a very hard time. And I'm just at a loss. I'm really at a loss that all of you can sit there like this is normal. Like me being here is keeping you safe, where we all go sit on the same toilet. I'm not given a private bathroom. I'm just so confused at how you're allowing this unlawful. None of you have any authority. Nowhere. You know what? Actually, I'm going to implore that from now on, all of you here and anyone listening at home, when you are given something like, well, we're given recommendations and this is our stance, I'd like you to start showing in our Constitution, our state constitution, or in New Hampshire educational laws where you have any authority to be segregating us, to continue masking the children, to continually not accepting medical exemptions from doctors. It just blows my mind. I'm at a loss. And I really wish you guys could just maybe uproot your feet a little bit from this stance you take. And I get it. It's a powerful stance, but it holds no merit in law. It's very concerning. I'd also like to state that I'm not a terrorist. I love my country, and thank you.
Thank you. Osvaldo Hernandez from Atkinson.
I'm not very well spoken, so I put down some notes here. Your CDC, your science said from the very beginning that COVID children were least susceptible to carry it, spread it. I'm sure that I understand that there's a lot of small cases where children do get sick and they ultimately do die, and my heart breaks for their parents. But for you to subjugate my children and put them in fear to be around other people. My daughter last year, when the mask and when they were out of school, it took me and my wife a month to get my daughter to get used to going into a store, Market Basket, Walmart, anyway, even to a restaurant, without wanting to put her mask on her face. She was afraid that she would get in trouble. Do you guys take into consideration the mental anguish that you're putting our children through at such a young age? Do you understand that? I know that you guys, you're all educated. I'm not. I'm uneducated, and I'm very much deplorable. I am. But I'm an American person. My children should not be played with. Their mental state should not be played with. I know you guys talk about health and all this other good stuff, but this country is being flooded with a bunch of illegals that ain't being mandated to take a vaccine. They're not being segregated the way you do to us. We were forced to come in through a side door. I wasn't even allowed to come in through the front door. I mean, am I vermin to you people? I don't understand what you guys are all up to, but you guys put yourself on this pedestal, and you guys need to be voted out of that pedestal. It's done. I got a question for you. You guys claim that you came to become teachers to educate our children. When did your education become an indoctrination machine? When did your education become a fear machine to instill my children as a little sponge, and you know it, that they are sponges at this age? For you to do this to our children is just wrong. You guys go home and you sleep at night, I hope you toss and turn, because it's disgusting what you're doing to our kids. Your own teachers' unions, you guys are declining the vaccine. And you guys are all about health and safety and all this other stuff when you guys can't even decide amongst yourselves on what's going on. When are the numbers going to come out about the mask and the spread in the state? You guys haven't even given us a defined date when our children can take our masks off in school. I really don't. You just, it befuddles me, and I'm stumbling over myself right now. Your influence, you decided at some point in your life to become an educator, to educate. When does your ideological influence trump my education for my children? That's all I have to say. You people are disgusting.
Thank you. Tracy Hernandez, Atkinson.
So last meeting we were here with my son, because he has football practice out back. And me and my son stepped out to use the bathroom. Didn't wear a mask for that moment. We walked by a couple of police officers over here. It seemed pretty cool. They waved to him and everything. And immediately my son put his hands over his nose and mouth, because he didn't have a mask on, so he did that automatically. And I kind of looked down at him and I said, you really don't have to do that. Just keep going. And I said, why did you put your hands over your mouth? And as soon as we got out there, he said, well, I don't want to get arrested. And I felt just awful for him. He's 6, okay? He's 6 years old. He thinks he's going to get arrested if he doesn't wear a mask. And I never said anything like that to him. No one in my family did. This is just how he actually feels. Instead of waving to the nice police officers, it's like, I feel so bad. So to me, it cannot be any clearer what this forceful mask wearing is doing to our children's mental state. They're actually scared. Okay, our little kids they're scared. And I understand the whole, I totally try to understand that side of why people are actually wearing masks to protect other people or themselves. But the kids are scared. Okay, they're not necessarily scared of getting sick. They're scared of getting in trouble. That's all they're scared of. It's basically cover your face or you'll be punished, is what they see. And this tactic, to me, is just one way that the government we're presently being suppressed by is using COVID at the expense of others actually getting sick to control our children. They're instilling fear in them as children so that as they grow up, they'll continue to obey for the common good. Okay, just obey us. Do what we say in every way. It starts here with them. That's what it's doing. And I don't know much about politics, okay, but to me, this is going to lead to full governmental power over the citizens of this country, which we can't have. They will control you too, okay? Whether you want them to or not, at some point you won't. Okay, anyone forcing fear into the hearts and minds of impressionable little children should be ashamed, okay? Completely ashamed, because they're afraid. The kids are scared. So the easy thing to do would be to pull our kids out of school or just leave, go to another school, homeschool. We could figure that out. A lot of people could do that. But we decided that we're not going to do that. We're going to stay and fight tooth and nail for their rights and our rights as parents. Because the schools belong to us, the parents here and the citizens. We pay for the schools. They are ours, okay, not yours. So.
Thank you. Nolan Pelletier from Plastow.
like to thank the board for hearing me tonight. I'm going to keep this pretty short and simple. I mean, I've been up here before. I've already talked about my daughter. I've already talked about freedom. I just want to let you know that it's very disappointing to me that we're this far into the school year and my kid's still wearing a mask. Most other kids are living their life normal outside of the school. This is the only place that they're doing this, and it's a real shame. You're taking away the freedom of the parents in New Hampshire, the live free or die state, and it's just a shame. So I just wanted to make that a point again. I mean, I can't come up here every week and say the same thing, but I just wanted you to know I'm not going away, and I would like for us to actually have our freedom and let the parents, make their decisions for their own children. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on, the first order of business is COVID-19 update. Board members, do you have any questions on the executive summary in your packet? Sean?
Yeah, on the, can somebody explain a little bit about what's going on with the state and the reporting? You hear different reports of different things with regards to the numbers, that they were in error.
Go ahead, Tom.
I can start, and then perhaps Mr. Peterson would come in as well. I actually sent out a memo to schools and parents, staff and parents rather, earlier in the week, based on data that was released, I believe, on Tuesday, and the data basically showed an upward trend and a dive that almost went straight down. As it turns out, we found out the next day that Dr. Chan reported it as a data error, and so the actual numbers that came in are over, I think, 400, so 4 times the threshold for mass optional. So that's where we are with respect to that. Board members, if you look at the second page of your handout, at the bottom, you see what the graph looked like earlier in the week. And then if you flip over, sorry, I don't see the spike. Bottom of the second page, Mr. Peterson.
The numbers from the state last week, so 928, 929, 930, were 928 was 230.8 new cases per 100,000, then 929. It dropped down to 199.5, then 930 was down to 164, then 10.1 it was 129. So those are the numbers reported to us or those are the numbers available on the state's website. So the trend was going down. And then on 10.4, the numbers weren't available right away. But then, they late in the day, actually on 10.5, 10.4's numbers got updated. On a conference call with Dr. Chan on Wednesday, Dr. Chan did express that those numbers last week were incorrect. So the trend was going down. So if you see on the page of your executive summary, if you look at the graph, that first graph there, the trend was going down. So we were assuming that it was going down. In fact, there was another local district that made a decision about going mask-free based upon that trend, and in their health region, it actually dropped below 100 and went to moderate. They were, in fact, informed by Dr. Chan that those numbers were inaccurate. And the numbers now are back. Where are they today? I don't know if I have the numbers. Yeah, 401 or 4. Actually, I just posted the latest data. 10.7. The rate of new cases is at 413.5. So the data that I get from the state that's widely available to everyone, as Dr. Cochran said last week, those numbers were inaccurate from the state. I can't explain why those numbers were inaccurate, but I'm only as good as the numbers I get from the state. So, I compile them, I put them onto the executive summary and put them there. So we were seeing a downward trend. In fact, everyone in the state was seeing that downward trend. Some other districts made some decisions based upon that. But then Dr. Chan did say that those numbers were a mistake.
Barbara?
Mr. Peterson, how many students have we had test positive for COVID since the beginning of this year, and how does that compare to last year?
I don't have that in front of me. I know right now, for the past 14 days, we're at 20 cases. I'm looking at today's data that should be up on the website soon. We're at 20 cases over the last 14 days.
And that's students, right?
That is, there's actually one staff member, so 19 students, one staff member. I'm not aware of that level.
That's the key number.
No, sir, you may not ask a question. Excuse me, sir. I'm going to ask you to sit down. I'm going to ask you again to sit down, quit speaking, and leave the microphone. Sir, please stop talking or I will have you removed. Sir, I am asking you to stop talking. Officers, could you please approach the gentleman who is speaking? There, sir, officer, we are past the delegate session. Please escort this gentleman out of the building. Please, I've asked several times for you to leave the microphone. Officers?
You guys are garbage, trash. You all do the same thing as the rest of them. The medical industry works with the education system. You guys are working hand in hand with the
Thank you, officers. Any other questions? Sean?
Yeah, Mr. Pedersen, I see on here that we have it on the first page there, this is the Rockingham antigen and PCR test positivity, the 7-day average. When did we start using the antigen testing? Do you know when the state started using that? Because the reason for my question is because we all know that the CDC has said that PCR tests are ineffective, and that's one of the reasons why they're switching from using the PCR test. But all the previous literature I've seen that's coming out of the state for this particular testing has always been PCR test centric, and this is my first indication that there's something else that's being used, so.
I cannot answer the question of why the state is using what the state is using. I believe I said I'm not an epidemiologist.
No, I just was more looking at, do you know when that started to come into play, the antigen component of that?
Off the top of my head, I do not. I'd have to, we'd have to go back and look at the state's records.
Okay.
The state, as far as the level of community transmission, from the information I've gleaned from the state is that it's made up of two different metrics. One being the new cases per 100,000 population over the last 14 days, and the positivity rate over the last 7 days.
No, I understand all the other stuff after that, but that was always triggered off of a positive test. And if you have a positive test, of course, we all know that the test is only as good as the quality of the test. And if we're using something in our state, via the state using that PCR test, and the CDC has said that they are switching from that PCR test as the metric that they're using for these tests to confirm positivity, because of its ineffectiveness, and we're still using that, we're basing everything off of this, off of data that we know that the CDC has even said that has a high false positive rate.
Wait, Mr. Pedersen, why don't you let Mr. Finnegan answer that?
Sean, I think you're misinformed. The PCR,
Enlighten me, please.
I'm sorry?
Enlighten me then.
I will.
Okay.
Because I do work at a hospital and.
Yeah, I can see the flip-flopping in your
Yeah,
responses.
okay. So
Go
the,
ahead.
yep, thanks, Sean. The PCR test is actually the most accurate type of test. I'm not sure where you read that the CDC is changing that. Every state, every hospital uses PCR tests. If you're wondering of the other type of tests, if you there are other type of tests like antigen testing. Those are less accurate and require a positive or negative PCR test. So again, let's not mislead the public in, the need for a PCR test. Those are the most accurate type of testing at this point.
That was incredibly enlightening.
Any other questions before we move on? Moving on to the facilities update. This was put in your packet predominantly for the discussion about the warrant article. There is a CIP meeting next Tuesday at 7 p.m. where this draft CIP will be, I assume, finalized before the final send over to the school board and then ultimately to the budget committee. We are looking to have a joint meeting with the budget committee on November 19th with the school board. We have asked the budget committee to join us to have a discussion, preliminary discussion of the combined boards. Any questions on the facilities update? Moving on to the board committees. Board members, in your packet, you have a list of the board committees and the current membership. I did review these. I have some concerns that we are having a, for lack of a better word, that the workload among the board committees is not evenly distributed. Some committees have ultimately more work than others. The personnel committee now, in the past, it's only been one union negotiation at a time. Right now, we have 5 unions that we're negotiating with. So board members that are sitting on this union negotiation committee, or some of them are doing sometimes up to 3 different negotiations. So I'm going to ask that board members take a look. I actually did tally up how many people are on which ones, just so I had some idea. I would like to come off CIP, which means that we need the Danville representative to go on to CIP. Sean, that would be you. I'm currently sitting on 5 different board committees. Brian is sitting on 7 different committees. Steve Finnegan is on 5. I would prefer that Brian Boyle could come off some of these committees. He's on energy, he's on capital improvement, he's on wellness. We have an opening on wellness.
I said before I would take wellness. But I asked for one year meeting and I didn't get it.
I don't think we've had a meeting on wellness this year.
So, do we know when we meet?
I don't think a meeting's been set up.
Okay.
I don't think it meant last year at all because of COVID.
Well, so,
I guess that would be,
depending on the meeting schedule, once.
Well, the meeting schedule, I think you have maybe 1 a quarter, maybe twice a year.
is Mr. Brown the chair of that from the staff side of the house? So I think you'll have to get with him to set up a meeting. Does somebody want to take Brian's place on that, so he at least can come off that committee?
I'll take wellness.
Amy?
Yep.
Okay.
Sorry, but I think as of right now, we're into about 15 hours into TTA negotiations only. So,
Right. And just for the record, on the second, or the last sheet, you'll see the union teams. Steve Finnegan is on negotiating on 2, 3, and 4 custodians, food service, and administrative assistants. I'm counting that as one committee, even though there are 3 different union negotiations. Is there somebody else that wants to step into that and let Brian come off of that committee?
I think right now, personally, I think energy is, I think is a winding down type thing, not as thing. I mean, I want to stay involved in the performance evaluation, the performance contract thing, which is.
So you want to stay on energy?
I will stay on that portion, you know, because I think that once that happens, I think we're.
Is there somebody else that wants to step into the other 3 union negotiations? Because it would be, Brian is involved in the TTA, which I know is taking a lot of time. I know.
I mean, you know the amount of hours we spent, so.
All right, I'll be reaching out to board members via email. All right, moving on to the next item on the agenda. This is the athletic department. There's an update in your packet from the athletics field committee. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Just an FYI with the Facilities Committee, the athletic fields, we did meet about 2 weeks ago, and one of the major pieces of that, and Mr. Kellen was on it as well, the will of the committee really felt that it was important for us to get some outside professional consultation to really assess all of our grounds and to see what kind of options that we may not even be aware of in order to improve the facilities. And Mr. Inglesby was reaching out to some outside consultants to give us an opportunity to find out what those options might be, what they would actually do, what the cost might actually be for those consultations. But the group did also want to make sure that as time goes on and we find out what our options are, we also want to incorporate some of the community members and the groups that use our facilities as well, so that we get a more broad-based approach and opinions on what we should be doing with our outside facilities. So that was 2 of the major pieces that came out of that meeting. And as we get more information from Mr. Inglesby, we're planning on meeting again in another few weeks and continuing to meet regularly so that we can start to put the plan together, not just for short-term things, but for long-term things as well, to try to get some help. So, and Mr. Kellen, if I missed anything there, I just want to make sure that I'm.
Sheila, then Brian.
I have not seen anything other than, I can say years ago, you probably remember when we were talking
I'm
about.
talking Bucky Tata, I'm talking way back. Haven't these grounds been assessed? I mean.
I don't have anything, if there's something at the SAU, but I don't have anything that I can draw on, no one has shown me anything. So if there's something out there, we'd love to see it, but I haven't seen anything.
But in the same sense, in the Bucky Tardiff years, we didn't have the same sports and the same, it's a completely different scenario as to what you have out there doing different things and the different types of teams that are out there. So I'm not sure anything that was done before would even.
I'm just,
a lot right now.
We did ask that question. Is there some existing documentation somewhere where these facilities have ever been evaluated? Is there any information, out there somewhere? But all of us that were part of that group were unaware of any existing documentation, and that included Carl and Maria. So.
Carl, Maria are brand new.
Right.
I'm looking for
Could I interrupt for just a second? If Mr. Inglesby could, when we talk about what we're looking to document and potentially receive if we end up in a console, the sorts of information we would be looking for would require some soil samples, things like that. So I think he's the person most qualified in the building to speak to that. So if he could do that, I think it'd be a good thing.
You're talking about two oldie but goodies here that think this has been done.
What, Sheila?
I said, two oldie but goodies here that have been around for millions of years.
Oh, I also know, because you sent it to me, in 2017, we spent $50,000 for an assessment of our fields. So there should be some paperwork around.
Okay.
It's not my house.
I think that's the thing, because I think Carl basically, of the group, you probably see in person. My suggestion, quite honestly, I would probably reach out to Woody and I know I've seen, I'm not sure the level of detail, there has been studies on the field, at the very least, you'd have like engineering surveys. This isn't like a napkin sketch. So this right now it sounds to me like you don't have anything. You just have probably some of these Google Earth views, but I believe there have been, in fact, I know there have been plans, and you might have to reach out to some of the people who just recently retired because, they were heavily involved in athletics, and there would be probably a much better source, but I know there was work done that would probably help what you're trying to do. And then once, if you can find that, then you might be able to see what else you need.
Was with Osier? Osier, A-U-G-E-R, Osier?
We had a
I think
contract
that's
with Osier.
Right, but I believe that was in regards to getting the fields in better shape. I don't know, I think there was something put in writing back in 17. I don't know what that was, but I believe there's something more comprehensive out there in this SAU somewhere.
I think what you might be referring to, though, I think was more of a grooming thing.
Right,
versus
taking care of the.
reconstructing,
Right.
reconfiguring
Right.
the fields.
But I think.
That's what they're looking for.
That's what I'm saying.
Which I think exists someplace.
I think it exists too.
Excuse me, can I?
Go ahead.
That was my question. You think there's something more comprehensive that exists, is that what I just?
Oh, I'm sure there is. I don't know where it is.
I will.
Because as a matter of fact, on occasion, I will run into Pete Taylor and whenever I have my own conversations with him in different functions around. He's a wealth of information. Some of the knowledge is still floating around in this district. I don't have this information because they worked here for years. This was their world. They knew it.
Okay.
But if I were you, I'd probably reach out to John Woodworth and that's just he's probably a good source and see what's out there.
And further on this topic, if you're looking to bring out an outside consultant, and this is going to be, I would think, a rather large expense if you're now talking about doing soil sampling and everything, that needs to be put into the CIP and then budgeted for in a subsequent year. So if that's going to be the case, it needs to come into the CIP probably at the next meeting.
Okay.
I mean, I don't even.
We don't have that money in the current budget. I have no idea how much we're talking. We're talking.
Anywhere between 20 and 50.
That is a capital improvement project that should be budgeted into that line.
Okay.
We appreciate the effort, but I think it'd be great if some of this is done, that might help what you're trying to do. And,
Yep, we can do some research and make sure if this stuff out, we certainly don't want to reinvent the wheel. So if this stuff out, we'll definitely look for that. Okay.
Okay, thank you. You might as well stay up here because the next item is the Hall of Fame ceremony update. It looks like after our discussion that you're going to put it into the budget lines of the athletic department for FY23.
That is correct.
Great. Is there any discussion on that? Sheila?
Angela, why did I think this was already in your budget every year? Because I remember when this first started, you got $10,000.
In 2017, you're absolutely right.
17,
In
okay.
19, it came out.
And then you did it again in 19?
In 19, yes, 2019, it came out.
Was the second time? Because it was every 2 years, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And we were gonna, just so that you know, well, you probably know, we were gonna do it this year, but because of COVID, we postponed
Right,
it to 20.
I assumed you were gonna put it on.
Yep.
But where did you get the money in 19?
So we had a sponsor, the Council for Timberland Athletics. They sponsored it. They are not able to do that this year.
Well,
So we are, after the last meeting, we are putting it in the budget and we are presenting on October 20th.
I'm going to ask a really silly question, and I'm going to throw this out there because you know I'm an old booster lady, right? I've done every booster under the sun in this place. Have you thought about doing a fundraiser for this, a golf tournament, I don't know what, but something that would offset these costs? Because we're talking about a $10,000 party here. It roughly is a $10,000 party even when you sell the tickets. And I mean, you don't want to overprice your tickets, obviously, because you get nobody to come. But it's got to somehow stop being able to pay itself to roll over for the 2 years. I mean, you've got 2 years in between these things. There should be something going on in between to start. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
It just seems like we're doing this in 17, 19 you needed another sponsor, we're back in 21, and you're back looking for $10,000 more to do it again in 23. There should be something that should be able to go on in between those years to offset this.
And that's something as we move forward, we'll definitely look at with the committee. It's been
I would
very
appreciate
difficult.
that because it should have its own revolving thing at this point.
We'll look at that.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions on that? Okay, the next item on the agenda, also under athletics, is the grant round 32. This is a grant proposal that it sounds like we've received the go-ahead to move into the next level. And in order to do that, Mr. Fantasia is going to need the approval of the governing body, which would be the board. And we don't need to vote on this tonight. I did ask Michelle to send everybody all the documentation in regards to this. It's probably close to 100 pages, so I didn't feel like we should print it off. So board members, if you could review that, and then we could make a decision. If you've got any questions, please, you can send them to me or the superintendent beforehand. Yes, go ahead.
If it was helpful for you, I have just some notes out of that for some timelines and different things like that, which may or may not help you, but I thought you might want to have it. So forgive me as I'm moving my arms further away. So basically, you know that there's a grant opportunity. We're looking to replace the track with this grant. The grant will, and I'm reading the notes, the grant will potentially reimburse at least 50% of project costs. Full payment is due upfront by the district, and then reimbursement funds are distributed after the project is completed, just so that you know what the way the grant is situated. In terms of timeline, the completed packet, if we are told to move forward, the completed packet would be due on December 17th of this year. On January 2022, their scoring rubric would take place. In February of 2022, they would make their selections and notifications as to who is being awarded grant money. And then final approvals for that would be in the August-September range. And the grant begins a 3-year term of completion on October 1st. So just so that you have some of that information. What we have already, and thank you to Mr. Inglesby, who's been helping us as well. We have the packet, as you already do. We have the GIS tax maps, which are required as part of this grant. We have copies of the land deeds. And the next steps in speaking with this group, there's pieces of this grant where we would identify community members that utilize our facilities, all of them, not just the track football field area. We would be asking people for letters of support. Obtain a line-by-line specific cost quote. The more specific we are, they say, the better it is. and then to obtain state documents identifying if we have any endangered species on our grounds, any land easements, historical monuments or grounds, and then they want to see a creation of a short-term and a long-term facilities care program. So these are the things that they outlined for us, but I just kind of thought it would be helpful for you to hear for that. So that's all I really wanted to.
Go ahead, Brian.
That right, so we get, if you receive the grant, or if we receive the grant, we get up to 3 years to do that, because obviously I would think there's been talk if they were going to redo the field within there, you redo that field before you put a track around it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? You're not gonna, there's been a lot of talk about that over the years, you know, so that would give you the district ample time to do that.
You have 3 years.
Yeah.
If you're
From October 1st, 2022.
Well, the 3 years is important also because we're going to have to front load this cost, which means you're going to have to build it into the budget. So you're going to need at least a year to do that. Steve?
Yeah, just really quick, if I also heard correctly, Mr. Fantasia, you said there's the possibility of getting the 50% reimbursed?
If you're granted, if you are awarded the grant, you can receive a minimum of 50%. That all depends, and again, the packet's pretty extensive.
Yeah.
So when we fill this out, there's things that count towards reimbursement, things that don't count towards reimbursement. And again, as we fill this out, and as Mr. Inglesby starts getting more of the price quotes and what we're doing in the plan, that will determine your scoring and what would be reimbursable and what wouldn't. But they do state, the language states a minimum of 50%.
That's great.
That's what it states.
Yeah, sure, no, that's great. Second question, and I haven't looked at the material, so it's probably in there, and I apologize for this, but is there a top dollar amount of what this grant actually is? Is it based on what you're coming up with the quotes? How is that going to work?
The way I am understanding it right now, and I'll be in contact with them quite a bit, but they're not capping a number on us. If we're doing, and we show the costs and we show the details, they're not telling us, well, you have up until this amount of money. So they haven't stated that. I didn't see that either.
Okay.
But we're going to be talking to them pretty extensively if we're going to move forward.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Barbara, did you have a question?
That was the same Steve asked.
Okay. Sean?
Yeah, I'd like to actually make a motion to certify Mr. Fantasia of Athletics and/or Mr. Inglesby of Facilities as the applicant of authority for this grant. Yes, because I think it should be either one of them. You should do it on either behalf. If something happens to one, we shouldn't be included or come back to the board to get both of them for some reason.
There's a motion and a second, but I guess my next question is going to be, who is the certifying authority on this grant? Because at least where I work, many times it is the president of the university, or in this case, superintendent. Who is the certifying authority on the grant? You have the grant application?
The grant application is in here, and I believe you guys have that. The way I understood it, I'm sorry.
No, go right ahead, Andrew, keep it, just.
The way I was understanding it is whoever is named, you're absolutely, whoever is named is the one that has to be filling this out. So if it's us doing the groundwork and they're the name and they can fill it out,
It can be whoever, as long as we voted here.
I personally am not in favor of this motion because I'd rather see who they want on the lead person on the grant application, and typically, I would think you'd want your superintendent for a grant that size to be the lead on it, but that's just my own experience
You're not
with grants.
offending me, trust me.
But if people want to vote on it, that's fine. Steve?
Basically, I was just trying to move this process along, but that's fine. I mean, it looks to me like we have plenty of time anyway.
Steve?
Agree with you, Kim, in that. I'd like to understand what the cost is that we're going to have to budget for upfront money before we decide to vote on this as well. So I don't know if we'd have that information before we vote on this, but at least having an understanding of the money that we're going to have to front would be really helpful.
Is that in the packet of information we received?
You have the packet of information. My question is, and again, I'm a little confused still too. We just got this packet, and I'm trying to understand it. The way I understand it, and Kyle, correct me if I'm wrong, as we bring in people and get all the quotes and the details, that's when we're filling out the actual forms. That's when we're going to start to find out what is and what isn't reimbursable. And they've also talked to us about, and I'm sorry, and they've also talked to us about, we need to call them anytime in terms of, okay, this is how we're wording this. Is this the correct wording? Could there be more funding if we worded it a different way? So they want to work with us to do that. I guess my question will be, and it's the same as yours if I'm hearing this, you're into the application. Getting into the application is going to show you like where the number is going to be. I don't know where the number is going to be at this point, if that makes sense.
Before the December 17th
Yes.
submission, right?
Yes,
So
absolutely.
we'll have some of that information prior to submission, or at least at first submission.
So should we put this back on the agenda for the first meeting in November? Oh, Dr. Cochran, go ahead.
Angelo, filling this out at this point in time commits us to what? Anything in particular, or simply keeps open the possibility that we can continue on this path as long as we think it's advantageous to the district?
Yes, you've gone through the screening process and been approved. You received an application process so that you can get into this process. And I can ask the question tomorrow, but I don't really think you're on anything. You haven't submitted anything.
Yeah, so the expectation is we would know the approximate, by the time we get to the point of having the board make a decision, we would have cost estimates, timelines, those sorts of things. But in order to get to that point, we need to have this approved.
Well, we need to at least,
Well, this voted on.
I think what we need to have, and you're going to correct me, I hope, what we're going to need to have is we need to have someone appointed in this district to be the person that fills this out. And it's fine. If it's someone at the SAU, that's fine. It's not like Kyle and I aren't going to be doing legwork for everything. But they are not taking this unless the meeting minutes of a school board meeting and the notes and the votes state this is the person that you should be accepting this application from or any other forms from. Until that happens, this can't be filled out. Does that make sense?
Work out of this board so that we're not the barrier for getting this moving forward. That's okay.
Can you
No,
make,
you're telling me you can't start filling that out until you.
No, I can't submit anything.
Oh, no.
But there's also some links here that we have to fill out. And Kyle, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's links here that we have to open up and fill out and sign off on as part of it's not December 17th, we're not passing it in yet. But there are links there that we have to fill out. There's at least 3 talking about land and easements and everything else that we have to sign off on. Someone has to be that person. So I can find out tomorrow if that can be done now but the meeting minutes, nothing can go into them without acknowledgement from the school board on who that is. That's really all I'm saying right now.
Sheila.
first question I have is, can 2 people be on there simultaneously, or is it just one?
It didn't say that it had to be just one, so again, another question that I have no problem asking.
It could be 2.
It says copy of an ordinance or meeting minutes from the governing body verifying that the individuals submitting the application and or executing grant agreement has the proper signature authority.
Okay.
So it can be 2.
It can be 2. And here we go again. We have an estimate somewhere for that track. We have a company that gave us an estimate for that track.
We do.
We do.
We do. This is like $352,000.
Yeah, no, I get it down to $235, I think. But the moral of the story is it actually came up at a deliberative it was talked about, we got an estimate, so that might be something you want to look for, and hit up that company again.
I think that's what's happening with Mr. Inglesby right now.
I'm not sure if you knew if that company.
He already has.
If you had it or not.
He has it from 2018, so he's trying to get an updated copy with more recent numbers.
That's just me saying I'm old, I've been around a long time, and here it is again. I would.
So I have contacted Cape Island Track and Field, Christoph Eldridge, who's known throughout the state for track and field maintenance and building. He has agreed to come up and take a look at our whole area to make sure that anything hasn't changed. I can tell you right now, prices have.
Oh, absolutely.
On everything, so.
There's no doubt in my mind.
He's extremely busy right now. I've been trying to get him up here for the past 2 months. He did give me a verbal estimate, but I said I need detailed quotes.
Is that the same company that we had the last quote from?
I don't know. I know Christoph has been up here quite a few times, and there's only a few companies in the area.
If I can find it, I'll send it to you.
I've
Wherever we
also
got
contacted Vermont Tennis. I've contacted Maine Track and Field, and nobody's getting back to me except for Christoph, and he's just sending me an email with a verbal quote. I said it's got to be detailed. He said he'd be up here absolutely. I got that email this week. Just don't know when.
No, if I can find it, I will send it to you. Whatever the company was, I don't, off the top of my head, I don't remember. But I do remember that it was fairly recent. So, it might have been a starting point, that's all I was thinking.
That'd be great.
Okay, so there was a motion and a second on the floor. Was that withdrawn? It was withdrawn. Okay, so why don't you just plan to come back when you have more information on it? And the board will have time to review what was sent to us this week. So we'll put that on, that you want it on the agenda for the next meeting or the first meeting in November?
I give them a month.
If we get quotes, I'll put it on the next meeting. If not,
Okay.
then there's no reason doing it until we get some better quotes, so.
Okay, sounds good, thanks. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to the next item on the agenda, and I can let Dr. Cochran speak to this, but this was a request from the Plastow Police Department for us to employ our own crossing guards.
A little unusual for police department to be paying the crossing guards. We actually reimburse them for the cost, but they are police department employees according to acting chief, and they're interested in getting out of the crossing guard business when the contract expires at the end of the year. The other topic of conversation was an MOU and job description for the SRO, who is a Plastow PD officer, but the district pays for that, and they just believe we'd be in a better shape if we had a formal agreement, because they can't find one, and a job description. So again, it's part of the, where's the documentation? It's a consistent theme.
So do we need to make a motion on this, or are you just essentially informing us that they're out of the business and we're going to just start paying
Yes.
the crossing guards for us?
So we'll work out, we'll reach out to them, work on the transition, and we'll also work with them on any sort of MOU and job description. We'll come back to the board for approval.
Okay, thank you. Brian?
Who are the other crossing guards? Like everyone, you see a crossing guard at the academy, are they tied to the school district, tied to the Atkinson PD? Or are the crossing guards? Are they town, the school employees, or?
I'm not sure. That was only Plastow PD.
I understand.
I don't know if we have similar arrangements with each of the towns.
I have no idea. Danville doesn't have a crossing guard. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll stop by tomorrow morning and ask her.
Yeah, maybe we should find out. All right, the next item on the agenda is the Energy Committee, performance contractor selection. As you know, we went out for an RFP for a performance contract. We have those in now, and my understanding is there are going to be presentations by two separate bidders. And Barbara, as head of the Energy Committee, thought that we should put together like a review committee for that, and I think Barbara's going to speak to a motion that she would like us to approve.
Yes, I motion that we appoint a small committee to select the performance contractor from the companies that provided qualified responses to our RFP on September 28th. The committee will include at least the following members: Brian Boyle, Mark Fournier, Carl Inglesby, Lisa Oliver, Mark Sherwood, and Maria Watkins. Can I have a second?
Steve seconds. Discussion?
Yeah, I just want to mention that we could take up to 3 additional members for the selection committee. However, the window for submitting the letters of interest to me is tight by noon, Tuesday, October 12th. We do expect to start interviewing the candidate companies next week.
Well, go ahead, Sheila.
Why? I guess my question is why? Why are we getting involved in this as far as the bid process? I don't understand why we have a selection committee for this particular RFP bid process. We haven't had one for anything else.
Well, no, actually, we have done this before on larger bids. I think it was before you were on the board. The food service bid last time it went out. Brian, you were on the board, right? They came to us and presented and everything.
Didn't they say, okay, this is, this is the bid that came in the lowest, this is...
Yeah. I mean,
The same way with bus contracts.
the same with the bus contract. So on these larger bids, which this is, or larger projects, this is going to be a huge project over multiple years. It's not, we could just, I mean, the other option is to have them present to the board and to the facilities people. I think these presentations are going to be quite lengthy, are they not? Like the order of an hour, 2 hours?
Mr. Inglesby, I think, wants to speak.
Just didn't seem right here.
And maybe Mr. Callan, maybe you want to speak to, I know you went through this in Derry, and what the process was?
So technically, we didn't go out for bid. We went out for qualifications. So we asked companies that are interested in being our performance contractor to give us a full packet with a bunch of different information in their pricing, how they get to what they want to do as far as, or to what we want to do, how we have value added, all the projects they've worked over the past few years, and stuff like that. And then we go in and we interview them to see which company is going to fit the best with us. There is no monetary value set to this, so there's really no bid. It's just trying to see who we're going to be comfortable working with over the next 2-3 years, maybe even longer. It's going to be a long-term contract, so that...
Just to review how this works, so the company's going to come in, do an energy audit, figure out where we could make improvements, how much money we could save on those improvements, then give us a number for how much stuff we could get and how long the payback period would be.
We went out to bid.
No, it was
That's why I was like,
we
why?
request for qualifications. That's what we did.
So, because I think the board ultimately will hear what your recommendation is and then approve it. Please, if this motion goes through, at least let's inform the board members if anybody else wants to attend, because it ultimately will be a board decision. I think I'd reach out to the budget committee and see if they want to put a member on, since you...
We already have
Sure.
Oh, there already is one. Okay, that's fine. So there's a motion on the floor and a second. Are all in favor of putting together an ad hoc committee for this RFP for the performance contract? Raise your hands if you're in favor. We have everybody here. 9-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next item on the agenda are 2 budget transfer requests. So the first request, we spoke about this maybe 2 meetings ago, was the addition of a new ground supervisor position. So if somebody wants to make a motion to approve the request from the account, so written here, to the other account in the amount of $65,000. Go ahead, feel free. Barbara?
I motion that we approve the budget transfer in the amount and account specified in the CFO BA's budget transfer request dated October 7th, 2021, in the amount of $65,000.
Okay, thank you. And that's for attrition savings to facility salaries. And then we have another budget transfer request. Oh, I'm sorry, missed the vote. All in favor? 9-0. And the next one is for $25,000. Oh, sorry, 48. Oh, I see, I read the wrong one. $48,000. Transfer funds to fund the CIA stipend. So can somebody tell me, is that curriculum instruction assessment? Curriculum instruction assessment stipends. If you recall, this is because of the move away from the deans into more decentralized and giving certain teachers this ability as curriculum and instruction, right, correct? That's going to fund that amount for those teachers.
Accept the budget transfer and the amount and account specified in the CFO BA's budget transfer request dated October 7, 2021, in the amount of $48,000.
Steve seconds. So this is for the transfer fund to fund the CIA stipends. All in favor? 9-0. Thank you. Okay, moving on to the administrator's report. Dr. Cochran?
Thanks this evening.
Nothing? Okay. We do have a personnel report. Hang on here. Here it is. So we have 2 nominations. We have, actually, let's do the resignations first. We have 2 resignations that we need to accept. Mike DeChico, thank you. Our teacher for Timberlane Regional High School, and Sarah Campbell, technology teacher from Pollard School. She'll make the motion. Steve seconds. All in favor? 9-0. Moving on to nominations. 2 professional nominations. Stephanie Barrows, school nurse at the high school, and Megan Palmier, our teacher at the high school. Is there a motion to accept those nominations? Krista makes a motion. Sheila seconds. All in favor? 9-0. And then we have 1 administrative nomination. This is for Alan Perry, ground supervisor for the Timberlane Regional School District. Is there a motion to accept that? Sheila makes a motion. Steve seconds. All in favor? 9-0. Okay, moving on to committee reports. Brian Boyle? Anything? I'm just heading down the way, sorry.
Let's see, since the last meeting.
Brian, let's go.
Make them quick.
Okay, let's see, I think since the last meeting, we did actually finally get our first CIP meeting, which was good, very productive. So welcome our new members, so we have our next meeting Tuesday, so we get projects ready for budget. I'm trying to think what else. Well, that's our union negotiations keep going on that committee. See what the flavor of the month is here, but the committee might be on. That's it. That's the quick headlines on 2 committees anyway.
Sheila's on TTA. Sheila, do you have anything else?
I just with Brian, and we're just chugging along.
Okay. Kristen?
We had a safety committee meeting. Steve and I attended that, and all went well, and things are moving forward, and we're set to have another one in a couple of months.
Okay, great. Steve?
Policy meeting today. We'll meet again in the beginning of November. Nothing to move forward to the board at this point.
Okay, thanks. Amy, you're on policy, right?
Yep, also policy, but curriculum as well. Earlier this week, we had a jam-packed meeting. It was really good. We have some stuff moving forward probably within the next few meetings, but it was great to hear about the professional development day. Recently, that teachers were able to kind of choose what they wanted their professional development to be, and sounds like Mike Anderson and his social emotional training was really well received. So good to hear about that.
Okay, thank you. Barbara?
The committee, we're very excited about the performance contract, getting the several responses, and as you heard, we're looking forward to selecting that and figuring out how much money we're going to get to stretch our dollars and get a lot of those facilities taken care of.
Okay, thank you. Sean? Brian?
Barbara got to ring the bell at the Acton Academy. That was the highlight of the talk.
All right. Just a couple things. I'm still awaiting word back from council regarding the SAU withdrawal. We have requested from Hampstead, I think more than once, to come back. We had sent something forward, and I've still not received anything. The other thing that we need to have a discussion about, and this is pertaining to SAU, because I did have an email, and I'm a little confused as to SAU personnel and where those lines are going in the budget, because in the past, the SAU personnel was a separate line within the SAU budget. And those personnel would have, say, in the proposed budget, an increase, a COLA increase or something like that. That usually came from the superintendent for those that were on the SAU board. So and actually right now, other than those employees, I think everybody's in the union. So that group needs to be considered when we are looking at potentially cost of living adjustments or different contracts moving forward. And I'm not really sure if, are all the SAU personnel still on like a separate budget line, Maria, or are they embedded within the other lines? Can you come down and, because this is the first year that we've had this situation, because we used to have a separate SAU budget and just plug it into our budget. Whatever it was, it had to be in there. But now we're our own single district SAU, but we still have SAU employees that are separate from Timberlane. So I'm just trying to get an idea of this before we move into the budget year.
Yeah, so the SAU budget is in a different function code.
Okay.
It's like it's three different function codes. One is for the superintendent, one is for business, and one is for HR. So the personnel are we all are under those function codes.
Okay, so in my mind anyway, Dr. Crockett, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, the board should be seeing an SAU budget. Brian, you agree? Brian Boyle? I mean, I'm just trying to think about how we used to do it when we were part of the SAU. Somebody has to look at the SAU budget, and that would be...
Somebody would need to propose.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
SAU
Somebody
budget
needs to propose an SAU budget.
that we can look at to see, even cost of goods and things go up. We just don't know.
Well, my suggestion would be the CFO would be the author of that budget. But if you're talking about increases, I think we should see how these union agreements go and try to get as close as we can in terms of what one group gets offered, the similarity to other groups.
Well,
in terms of COLAs.
Dr. Cochran.
There are typically two ways that are most commonly used. One is a COLA where everybody gets essentially the same percentage raise. The other is to pick a percentage raise across that salary group, have the board say, here's the maximum amount of raises that will go, and that those raises will be determined by administration based on performance and evaluations.
Well, yeah, that's essentially giving a pot of money and having a merit pool within that, Barbara?
One of the advantages that we pointed out in the withdrawal committee is there's one budget and one audit. So, I mean, we were planning on just a single budget.
It's going to be in the same budget, Barbara, but
Okay.
it's a different budget line.
Oh, budget, okay, that's fine.
Yes, yes.
It's just another line. It was never in there before that we now have to put in.
Right.
Right.
So it's just a new.
And we still have to consider those employees
Right.
in the next year's budget.
I'm sure they would find that nice.
I think my feeling is that the SAU budget should be presented to the board. Okay, just, that's
So
my
I
whole
had
point.
this
So,
conversation with the superintendent a couple weeks ago because the SAU budget was due to be presented to the budget committee, last budget committee meeting. So I had the conversation with the superintendent. I asked him if he had reached out to you, if anything was applicable to the SAU budget. And I don't know if you had, well, you told me the SAU budget should be the SAU budget. So that's what was presented. The only thing that was an increase was the legal fees.
so there was no salary increase for any SAU employees in the SAU budget.
So, yeah.
So Sean, you were on the budget committee last meeting, so was there any discussion on that SAU budget?
I was not at the meeting last meeting.
Oh, okay.
So the only thing that were presented were operating expenses, that were not, personnel were not presented because I am waiting on the superintendent to.
Oh, so the whole SAU budget wasn't presented?
Only operating expenses.
Well, I think we need the SAU budget presented to the board before it goes to the budget committee.
Okay.
Unless somebody, does anybody disagree with that?
Budget, let alone an SAU budget.
I know, but they're starting to present budgets to the budget committee. We don't have the main budget, they're already presenting sections of the budget.
We're starting next week with elementary schools, yes.
So when is this board going to see that budget?
Which budget? The SAU budget?
Any budget. We've got no paperwork for anything. At least I haven't.
Yeah, well, it's early in the process.
No, I'm not trying to
Maria presented, and it was in your agenda packet, a timeline of the budget process. I don't have the dates off the top of my head.
Yeah, so the first meeting for the budget committee was last Thursday. The elementary schools start presenting this next Thursday. I will be starting working on the default budget probably next week, when I will have the audit too. I will present to you the default budget, which is just the base budget with any contractual agreements. But then the presentations for the budget are going all the way to November. So in November, I will have a final proposed budget with also the default budget, which is just contractual agreements on the base budget.
And the proposed budget will be, we will have that for the combined school board budget committee on the 19th. That's where we're going to see, we will have it at or before that meeting. So that's the answer to that question?
Or a percentage.
Well, I don't think we're going to make that.
No, I'm not saying we're making that.
We're not making that. Something should be presented to the board on the SAU budget as to whether or not it's, what the raises are and what the breakout is, rationale. Is it just a straight, or is it a merit pool plus a COLA with some maximum?
Okay, I can work with the superintendent on that, and then if you will present it to you guys.
Great.
And was the school board budget presented to the budget committee? The school board budget, was that presented?
The operating expenses for the school board, yeah.
That has already been presented?
To the budget committee, yes.
Okay.
It was school board, transportation, and SAU operating budget that were presented at the first meeting.
All right, so typically, the school board budget comes to the school board before it goes to the budget committee, because it is our budget.
Makes sense.
Did you vote on those two next meeting, please?
School board, or are we talking the school board approved operating budget?
The line item.
The line item.
Okay.
The line item of the school board budget.
If we could have that for the next meeting, that'd be great.
Absolutely.
Present it to them. That would be awesome. Thank you.
I will have that.
Okay, another SAU, new SAU question or issue is in the past, we have issued contracts to the superintendent, assistant superintendent, the CFO, and the director of human resources. Everybody else in the SAU had what, for lack of a better term, a letter of agreement. I have received contracts now for SAU employees that are not within those four, and I'm not really sure that that's the route that we want to take moving forward. So I don't know, Dr. Cochran, if we should be consulting legal on this. It's just, I'm just not sure where this, with the transition. It was very cut and dry when we were a separate SAU, but I'm not really sure how it plays out now.
Well, the next question is, does that have bearing? Because we haven't seen these contracts, so what the language as far as COLA compensation, isn't that in those contracts?
Well, there's no language in terms of COLA, no, in a contract.
But you get what I'm saying? Some people had, in the previous SAU, had that language. They were guaranteed so much year bonuses, whatever. That's why I'm asking the question.
Well, you were never guaranteed a bonus. There were bonuses built into the contracts.
I'm just asking, throwing out the question. That's all.
Yeah, there's some work that we need to, Dr. Cochran.
There were some other things in those contracts as well. We've had automatic rollovers, those sorts of things. And I think we've had conversations in the past about making sure we go through annually and, make sure we do the salary. So there used to be language in some of those admin contracts. Now, some of those were in the groups, of the group of 3 or 4 that you discussed. So the special ed director there was a clause that says, if the board does nothing or the superintendent does nothing, this automatically rolls over. And so we worked with Mr. Clausen to revamp those contracts. But that's a conversation we can pick up with him because we're in negotiations now. But I mean, whatever direction the board wants to go, if we want to have different types of contracts for the four that have traditionally been there, and then a letter of agreement, or in some cases there are maybe benefits from having a more full contract than a simple letter of agreement. But I think that ultimately the board, either we can have the board make a decision, or Maria and Dana and I can put together some recommendations and options and bring it forward to the next board meeting.
Why don't we do that? Why don't you get with Attorney Clausen, because he's handling all our labor now, and put together explain the situation with SAU personnel and what it was in the past, and who was in that SAU personnel, what our current SAU looks like, and what he would suggest in terms of contracts versus letters of agreements. And make sure that he's proved all the contracts, because
You okay if we pull Mr. Kelly into that conversation as well?
Sure, yeah. I mean, you can involve whoever you want in the conversation. I'm just saying, let's make sure council is involved in that conversation. Sheila?
Sorry, Marie, we just don't have minutes to do right now.
It's okay.
Okay. All right. Anything else? Because I would like to move into a non-public. Oh, okay, yeah. All right. So I'm going to seek a motion to move into a non-public session under 91A:3, paragraph 2, section E. We'll start with section E here.
So moved.
Sheila makes a motion. Kristen seconds. Kathy, could you take a roll call vote?
Mr. Boyle?
Yes.
Dr. Farah?
Yes.
Mr. Finnegan?
Yes.
Ms. Gentile?
Yes.
Mrs. Kishka? Mrs. Coonson? Ms. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill? Mrs. Savage?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I do not anticipate coming back into a public session other than to seal the minutes and adjourn the meeting, so thank you for everybody that attended.